Hello, 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 my loves. As always, I hope that this live finds you well and in excellent spirits. Happy Monday, and welcome to another edition of the weekly Astro Forecast live here in the Astro Room on YouTube. I am your host and your favorite astrologer, Mel of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So, if this is our first time meeting, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. All right. So, this channel is everything astrology, spirituality, and manifestation. So, if those are the things you like, if those are the things you love, or if those are the things you want to learn more about, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you'll always be notified when I come out with new content. All right, my love. So, this is the weekly astro forecast for the week of September 23rd through September 29th. All right. So, first and foremost, how are you feeling? Because we are in, I like to call it the hallway, but it is this eclipse corridor, right? We just had the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces last Tuesday. And next Wednesday, we will have a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Libra. So we're right smack dab in the middle of eclipse season. Now, typically, eclipses will drag you by your edges. And I'm not even lying about that. I distinctly remember saying this last eclipse season that a lot of the eclipses, definitely since about 2020, have been really erratic. They've been so intense, so powerful. And for some reason, this particular lunar eclipse in Pisces, I'm not going to say it's been easy breezy. I will say, though, that it has been a lot less severe, a lot less intense, but extremely eye opening. And, I said ad nauseum because I did a dedicated video on it. Plus, I talked about it in last week's weekly astro forecast. But there are some doors closing during this eclipse. I mean, that's typically the case with any lunar eclipse, to be specific. However, this one, because it is a full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces, or because it was a full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces, when I tell you doors closed, it's like these doors closed, never to be opened again. Like these doors were closed, boarded shut, like donezo. Like there is no going back. And I don't know about you, but that actually feels really good to me. And I was very surprised that it did. Because typically, when we experience endings, they can be traumatic, they can be sudden, they can elicit so many emotions, right? Because we kind of have to mourn what we're losing or what's ending, and we don't necessarily know what's ahead of us. But I'll say, at least from my experience with this eclipse, is like, I'm pretty sure what doors are opening and the doors that are closing, they need to close. Like they complete complete endings, like in every sense of the phrase. And so it's been a really interesting and eye-opening eclipse. So let me know how the eclipse, the lunar eclipse in Pisces that we had last week, has been playing out for you. I mean, the energy lasts really 3 days before and 3 days after. However, because it is an eclipse, and because we're in that eclipse corridor, we're still feeling the energy. So let me know if you're catching this live. Let me know. Drop a comment in the chat. Let me know how this eclipse has been for you. If you're watching this on the replay, let me know how the eclipse has been treating you in the comment section below, because it's this completion, it's this coming to a close that feels surprisingly good, right? So hopefully you guys are enjoying some of this transformative and very transitionary kind of energy, right? So, no eclipse this week, right? This week is kind of mellow. Like I said, we're in between eclipses. So, we're feeling the tail end of the lunar eclipse and we're starting to feel the effects of the solar eclipse. And I don't know about you, but it has this very exciting kind of feeling. And it may be exciting for most people because this eclipse is happening in Libra. Now, Libra is the sign of relationships. And that's not the only reason why this eclipse is going to be exciting, because yes, it's going to have an overtone of relationships to it. However, the South Node is currently going through Libra. And so the South Node in Libra has really been doing cleanup with respect to our relationships. And the fact that this cleanup is happening at the same time as the solar eclipse, it's like, all right, spirit has really vacated some spots in your life, right? Certain relationships had to go, certain relationship paradigms had to go. Well, at the same time, opening doors for people who are actually in alignment with your new relationship paradigm or with your new self, even are starting to emerge. And that's also really exciting. Okay. And so, in terms of the astrology for the week, nothing too crazy. I do think that it is going to be a week that is a little surprising, some surprises here and there. You're going to have the ability to transform and be intentional about it. And I feel like there's going to be this clarity or this definiteness of purpose that is going to emerge this week. And I like that as it sort of dovetails with the energy of the solar eclipse, because the ability to have this clarity of purpose and with these new relationship doors opening, it's going to, I want to say, but that by the time the second eclipse comes and goes and we're kind of back to our regularly scheduled programming, I think that many of us are going to be in a really nice place and we're going to feel a lot more settled and a lot more in alignment with what we're supposed to be doing in a way that we haven't before. I feel like in previous eclipses, a lot of us have really come to understand what our purpose is, where we're going. However, it still felt very jarring because it was so new, right? It's like perhaps your purpose requires you to take a giant leap of faith. It usually does. Or perhaps make a transition that's kind of drastic, right? When you're first making that transition, it can be scary, it can be jarring, it can be really intense. However, as you sort of, it's like practice makes perfect. So as you sort of get more acclimated to this purpose, now it's like, okay, I'm kind of comfortable with who I am and what I'm doing. And now these new doors are opening. And so it's going to feel a lot more comfortable in the coming weeks, I believe. All right. So, definiteness of purpose, a little bit of surprises, and there's going to be the opportunity for some changes. All right. So, without further ado, let's get into it. And of course, we begin with the highlights. Everything over here is so delayed. Okay. That's just not working. All right. So, here are the highlights for the week. So, first, we have what I like to call light bulb moment, and this is Mercury trine Uranus. So, expect flashes of insight, good news, unexpected conversations and exciting conversations as well. Anytime we're talking about Mercury, we're talking about ideas and communication. And so this could be striking up a conversation with a random stranger, but it's really enlightening. This could be overhearing something that's really, pertinent to what you're doing. This could be unexpected good news. It could be, your intuition is really, heightened and is really, taking you in the right direction. All in all, it's a pretty good transit, I will say. Okay. Next, we have what I like to call keeping the peace. And this is Mercury entering Libra. So Mercury is actually changing signs this week. And in Libra, with Libra being the relationship sign, but also Libra representing the scales of balance, right? Balance and fairness. And so whenever Mercury is in Libra, it gives us the opportunity to mend relationships. It gives us the opportunity to negotiate, to settle, to come to some sort of agreement that is where everybody wins, right? I like to call Libra the peacekeeper or the peacemaker. And so with Mercury in Libra, it's definitely all about keeping the peace. And then finally, we have what I like to call a date with destiny. And this is the fact that we've got two different transits involving the North Node this week. First, we have the Sun opposite the North Node, and then we will have a Mercury opposite the North Node. And anytime we're talking about the North Node, we are talking about our destiny. We're talking about our forward trajectory and sort of where we're heading, right? So the theme for this particular week when it comes to these North Node transits is that you're going to have to be comfortable. I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's perhaps being comfortable and complacent, okay, and not taking action. It could be sticking with the familiar and not wanting to venture out of your comfort zone. And it could also be considering others before you consider yourself. So even though we have these North Node transits this week, there's going to be perhaps a little resistance to following our North Star. There's going to be some resistance to sort of stepping into our purpose. Remember, I said there is this definiteness of purpose. However, there may be people, places, or things in our immediate environment or in our lives that may, I'm not even going to say that they are going to provide the resistance. I think that our relationships with them may provide the resistance. All right. So that's definitely something to look out for and to be mindful of. Very mindful, very demure, right? All right. Let's get into the week and see what we got going on. All right. So, first, this is what's going on for the week of September 23rd. So we've got Mercury trine Uranus. We've got Mercury opposite Neptune. Mercury is then going to be moving into Libra. Then Mercury will trine Pluto. The Sun will oppose the North Node, and then Mercury will oppose the North Node. I want you to notice something. Mercury is the star of the show this week. So this is going to be a week where there's lots of communication, lots of activity, period, right? And this sort of makes sense, especially with us being in this eclipse corridor, right? Mercury brings busyness. It brings communication. It brings relating to others. And with Mercury moving into Libra, and now we are in Libra season, our relation to people and how we communicate with them is really going to be heightened and highlighted this week. This could also be a week where you are overthinking things. Could really be a week where, because we've got such, an emphasis on Libra energy, maybe you're talking to a lot of Libras. That's an interesting way in which astrology plays out sometimes. Sorry, I had to get a little comfortable. Depending on the planetary energy, you could just be interacting with that particular sign more than usual. Just a mundane sort of astrology tip. But this could be a week where, you're really trying to make moves or you really have plans that you're trying to execute, yet the relationships in your life may, again, provide that resistance. Or maybe you're really thinking about what other people are going to think, what other people are going to say, how other people are going to react with respect to what you're trying to do, right? So there's this emphasis on the other this week and how we think about the other, how we speak to the other, how we communicate with the other. That's going to be an overwhelming theme this week. All right. Now let's take a look at what the moon is doing this week. So we start off with the last quarter moon in Cancer, and then we move into the waning crescent phase where the moon will move into the signs of Leo and of Virgo. All right. And so we are waning. Okay. And so with the moon this week, this is about divesting yourself of things that no longer serve you. And this is doubly, sounding like Trump for a second, important because we're nearing this eclipse. And so this is the week where you can kind of be intentional about, releasing things that no longer serve you, okay? To make room for whatever the universe is trying to eclipse into your life with this upcoming new moon solar eclipse in Libra, okay? So if it's not in alignment, if it's not working for you, let it go. And I have this feeling, right? My intuition is telling me that whatever is presenting itself as not being in alignment with who you are or who you're becoming or where you're trying to go, it's going to be obvious, right? And I feel like the universe is like, listen, you know this. You know this isn't for you. You know that you've outgrown this. You know that you've moved past this. You know that you've healed past this, right? There's no need to hold on to it. And so that relinquishing, it may feel good. It may feel cathartic. It may feel right. So it's really important that you are intentional about that, especially this week, because I feel like the universe is really trying to bring us some really good stuff with this upcoming eclipse. And again, with it being in Libra, these could be the right people, right? Maybe you realize over these last couple of eclipse seasons that your friends ain't shit, or the people that you were hanging out with ain't shit, or you just don't relate to them anymore. And with that probably comes this feeling of isolation, right? Like, I no longer relate to these people, but I haven't met any new friends. Like, what's really good? Like, I feel like I'm by myself. I feel like this eclipse in Libra that's coming up is going to open the door for you to meet a whole bunch of new people who are really in alignment with who you are now. I have an interesting story about that because this is something I love when this happens. It's like everything just comes up all at once. Right. So this is actually something that I experienced over the weekend. So long story short, I had a friend come into town who I haven't seen in probably about 6 years. Now, this is someone I've talked to on the phone or whatever, but we haven't seen each other in like 6 years. And so they were in town. I'm like, all right, cool, let's meet up for drinks. And when I tell you, when I was saying before that doors are really closing, the person I was 6 years ago, I've done like a complete 180, right? I'm very different, very different. I look different. I think differently. I'm into different things. And meeting with this person, I was just like, I felt like we were speaking almost two different languages. I was like, there was a part of me that was like, I used to be friends with this person, and not in a bad way. It's just that I feel like we don't have anything in common anymore. And it was so surprising because this was someone I was really close to. This was someone who we were really tight. And I was just like, this doesn't fit anymore. And if I'm being honest, I didn't even feel sad about it. I was just like, okay, so that season has ended. Like this has run its course, and I'm excited to see who's going to walk through the door now, right? But I feel like this is a lot of what the universe is showing us and trying to bring to us with these eclipses. So it's really really interesting energy. All right. So now let's get into the week and see exactly what we've got going on, and we're going to begin with Tuesday. Wrong thing. Wow. Okay. This is going down on Tuesday. We've got Mercury trine Uranus and the last quarter moon in Cancer. So, like I said before, Mercury trine Uranus, this is like a light bulb moment. All right. Well, before I get ahead of myself, let me show you what this looks like on the chart. So, at the top of the chart, you'll see Mercury is the purple guy, and that's at 27 degrees of Virgo. And then at the middle right hand portion of the chart, you will see Uranus at 27 degrees of Taurus. And then in that middle red circle, you'll see the moon at 1 degree of Cancer. All right. So, Mercury trine Uranus. Sorry, I'm like all over the place today. Like I said, this is a light bulb moment. This is like your intuition is really signaling for you to do something. It's literally like a light bulb goes off in your head, and it's good news. Now, because both of these planets are in earth signs, Mercury is still, or at least will still be in Virgo, and Uranus is in Taurus, it is good news of a substantial or a practical nature, right? Taurus could be money. Virgo could really be work, right? So good news concerning work or money or something of this sort could come your way. You could really have $1 million idea when it comes to a business, particularly a business that has to do with products, right? Because Taurus is very much product based. Anyway, it could really run the gamut with respect to how this could manifest in real time, right? However, to earth signs has to do with practical, everyday kind of things, maybe. And this is the example that's coming in my head right now. And this is something that I absolutely love. Maybe you've made plans, right? And maybe at the time that you made those plans, you were enthusiastic about it, and now not so much. Mercury trine Uranus is like, oh, the plans canceled themselves. Maybe this person couldn't make it anymore. Maybe this event got canceled. And you're like, yes. Like now I have this space in my schedule to do something I actually want to do, like sleep or something else, right? It could be like that, right? However, good news, light bulb moments, heightens intuition, exciting, unconventional, unexpected conversations, plans that could really deviate from your norm, right? These could be ideas that really deviate from your norm or ideas that could really change your everyday life. And I feel like your intuition is just going to, again, like flip the switch and the light bulb is going to go on. And before you know it, you have this really great idea. So pay attention, right? And be present. I think that is the best advice when it comes to any of the astrology, because a lot of times we get caught up in our day-to-day activities and all of that stuff, and we sort of miss what it is the universe is really giving to us. And if you have the opportunity to have, you know, an unplanned or this really unconventional conversation with someone, maybe because they're so different, you are inclined to not engage, or maybe you're so wrapped up in something else that you're like, whatever, or maybe you're just not even listening to your intuition may be pointing you in a really interesting direction, and it's really important that you be present so that you can take advantage of these opportunities. Okay. And then the same day, Tuesday, we've got the last quarter moon in Cancer. Now, Cancer is the moon's home sign. And when the moon is in Cancer, we're extra sensitive, we're extra moody, we're crabby, even, right? And the last quarter phase is really about whatever has transpired in the past has transpired in the past, right? We're making our way to the new moon. And in that vein, it's like you really have to not get hung up on what you didn't do, what you should have done. Now it's just the time to divest yourself of what you no longer need, right? And when the moon is waning in Cancer, it's about divesting yourself of what you don't need that isn't in alignment with your basic emotional needs. Anything that doesn't give you love, acceptance, shelter, protection, right, may not be for you. Anything that doesn't make you feel secure emotionally may be something that you want to divest yourself of at this time. And it doesn't matter what transpired in the past. What matters is the present, and what matters is moving into the future. So get rid of what no longer serves you. All right. So that's Tuesday. So now let's move into Wednesday. All right. So on Wednesday, we've got Mercury opposite Neptune. All right. So Mercury is currently or still will be in the sign of Virgo, and Neptune will be in the sign of Pisces. Now, whenever we have an opposition, let's take a look at what this looks like on the chart. At the upper left-hand corner, you'll see Mercury, the purple guy, is at 28 degrees of Virgo. And then the bottom right-hand portion of the chart, you will see Neptune, which is the blue pitchfork-looking thing, and that is at 28 degrees of Pisces. Right. So when we're talking about oppositions, we're talking about extremes. Think of it like a seesaw. You've got one planet on one end and one on the other. One is up, one is down. Oppositions really highlight the axis of the two signs in which the planets are. So, Mercury in Virgo, Neptune in Pisces. The axis of Virgo and Pisces has a lot to do with evidence versus faith, serving on a mundane level versus serving on a human level, like a collective level. It could be about reality versus fantasy, right? Now, Mercury in Virgo really has you in the trenches, in the details, thinking of a master plan, really in your day to day mind and your day to day mindset. Whereas Neptune in Pisces, and Neptune is actually at home in Pisces. So it's all about using your imagination. So the dichotomy and the extremes that we feel with this particular transit is that on the one hand, we're really engrossed in the details of our day to day lives, the things that we can touch, feel, everything that is supposedly real in our life. Whereas Neptune is calling us to use our imagination, to have faith in the unseen, to really sort of leave the details behind and see the bigger picture. And finding a healthy balance between the two is going to be the best way to take advantage of this energy. Because living in extremes is extreme, right? On the one end, if you are all in 3D and if you are all in your day to day details and all of that stuff, you're not actively creating your reality, right? Because your imagination, your thoughts, and that whole thing, right? Your subconscious is what creates your reality. So if you're all in the details, you're not actively creating your reality. So it's almost like you're creating your own Groundhog's Day, where you experience the same thing day after day after day because you're not using your imagination. Whereas the other extreme, if you're all in your imagination and seeing the bigger picture, you're actually not being present, right? Because even though we are spiritual beings, we're still having a human experience. And so I love this transit because it really demonstrates the fact that we are spiritual beings Neptune in Pisces, having a human experience, Mercury in Virgo. And so you kind of have to juggle both. You have to juggle your humanity and your day to day stuff and your divinity, your creative abilities, right? And this could also mean creativity on a more mundane level, also, especially if you're someone who works in a creative field. Um, Especially like as an entrepreneur, a lot of times you're working on your business and not in your business. And so you're really bogged down by details such as like bookkeeping and website management and all of those things and marketing and all of these very technical skills where you don't necessarily have enough time to actually create the thing that you're putting out there. So, your ability to analyze and plan and live your day to day life on one end, and your ability to create, imagine, and create your reality on the other. Find a healthy balance between the two. Okay. So that's Wednesday. So now let's move into Thursday and see what we've got going on over there. So on Thursday, we've got Mercury finally moving into Libra. At the same time, or I should say, right before Mercury moves into Libra, Mercury will trine Pluto. And then we have the waning crescent moon in Leo. So let's see what this looks like on the chart. So we've got at the right center part of the chart, we've got Mercury. You'll see that at 1 degree of Libra. Then at the upper left-hand corner, you will see Pluto is at 29 degrees of Capricorn. Then at the bottom right-hand portion of the chart, you'll see the moon is at 0 degrees of Leo. All right, so let's discuss. So first up, Mercury moving into Libra. So I alluded to this before, but Mercury in Libra, it's all about relationships, how we relate to people, how we talk to people, how we communicate with people. It's really about speaking and listening, right? And how that forms the basis of our relationships. Mercury in Leo is Libra. Mercury in Libra is what we're experiencing this week. Mercury in Libra also really fosters teamwork and cooperation. Whenever I think of Libra, I think of the phrase, no man is an island, right? And with Mercury being the planet of plans and ideas and strategy, even, this really facilitates or it fosters working with people to come up with a plan for something. Maybe coming up with a plan, but leaving room for other people to provide their input or their opinion or to help you with something. Cooperation is a really big thing when the sun is in Libra, when any planets are in Libra, if I'm being honest. And so it's really important that you remember that no man is an island, right? And that you're able to play nice with people in the sandbox or whatever, right? It also fosters, I think the thing I like about Mercury and Libra the most, it fosters mending relationships. Okay. Mercury is all about communication. Libra is all about fairness, equity, right? And keeping the peace. And so if you have a relationship that, sort of got derailed, or maybe there's been miscommunication, or maybe there's a certain level of estrangement between you and this other person or you and these people, I feel like Mercury in Libra fosters coming together and mending those, or at least having a conversation. At the root of relationships is communication. And it's not to say that Mercury in Libra means that every relationship is going to get back on track. It means that the door's open for communication. And so now you can have those conversations. And those conversations are likely going to not necessarily be combative, but will likely more so be geared toward keeping the peace and finding some sort of harmony, some sort of middle point, some sort of middle ground that really works for everyone involved. All right. So keep that in mind, especially if you have someone who you've been wanting to reach out to, but you don't know how it will be received. Now, Mercury in Libra is not going to guarantee that whatever you have to say will be received well. It just means that the door to communication is open. So step through it, have that conversation, reach out and touch someone, try to make amends with somebody. I think that is the title of this live, actually, making amends, right? I think that Mercury in Libra is absolutely fantastic for that. So definitely take advantage. Now, before Mercury moves into Libra, right? Once Mercury hits 29 degrees of Virgo, Mercury will trine Pluto, which is at 29 degrees of Capricorn. This is a very powerful transit. Anytime we're talking about Pluto, we're talking about transformative power. Sorry, my skin is I'm a little itchy today. So if you see me fidgeting and doing a whole bunch of stuff, my skin is a little irritated. Sorry. Anyway, transformative power. And with Mercury being the planet of ideas and communication, this gives you the ability to really change your mind. Now, whenever we're talking about trines, right, we're talking about two planets that are in signs of the same element. So, Mercury in Virgo, Pluto in Capricorn, these are both earth signs, right? But trines, it's also things harmoniously coming together. There isn't much effort that you have to put into it. Things just kind of flow harmoniously. And so this could be some sort of external situation that allows you to transform the way that you think or maybe the way that you communicate in a way that's like pleasant and harmonious. It's not going to be jarring. It's not going to be a situation where, for instance, and this is just the example that's popping up, right? You you're with somebody, right? And you love them, you're devoted to them, you're loyal to them, and you find out that they've cheated and that they've betrayed you. Your mind changes about them pretty quickly, right? Like you feel betrayed by them, you no longer trust them, you may not even like them, you have this anger towards them. This is like a transformation in the way that you think in a very jarring kind of way. That's not what this is. This is like learning something new and interesting that really resonates with you, right? Or finally being able to see something in a favorable light that allows you to really change your mind and change your perception of that thing, right? It's a really great way to jumpstart any sort of transformation, whether again it has to do with your mindset or whether it has to do with your communication skills. And again, with both planets in earth signs, again, Mercury will be in Virgo, Pluto will be in Capricorn. This is a change that you will immediately see and that you can immediately use in your everyday life. It is a practical change. It is a change that you can integrate almost effortlessly into whatever it is that you're already doing. All right. So, be on the lookout for this because here's the thing with trines. Anytime you have planets in trines, the planetary energy, like I said, flows effortlessly. And because it flows effortlessly, you might not notice it, right? It's just things just sort of come together. So pay attention to what sort of gets you to see something differently or think differently or communicate differently, right? Another great example of this, especially because Pluto's in Capricorn, this transit may find you stepping into a leadership position, right? Perhaps you are promoted at work. Now you run a team, you manage certain people. Obviously, the way that you communicate is different because before you were communicating as, a certain level of employee. Now you've kind of stepped up, you're in a leadership role. Now you have to lead people, particularly with your communication. And arguably, you'll say that this is pretty pleasant because although it may be more responsibility, hopefully you're getting more money, right? So it's a good way to transform how you communicate in the workplace with respect to an everyday kind of thing, because obviously you go to work every day, right? So this is just one of the ways in which this transit can play out. But again, transformation of the mind, mindset, communication in a way that's pleasant and that you can readily integrate into your everyday life. All right. And then we close out Thursday with the moon moving into Leo in the waning crescent phase. Now, I love when the moon is in Leo, whether it's waxing or waning, because it has this lighthearted and childlike energy. It sort of allows us to not be so serious. It allows us to really tap into our heart centers. It allows us to be a little more courageous, to express ourselves, and to have fun. And when the moon is waning in the sign of Leo, for me, it typically means that whatever is not in alignment with my passion or with my heart, I kind of have to put it to the side. Meaning, if I'm not amped up about it, if I'm not psyched about it, if it doesn't really represent who I am at my core, then I don't need to engage in it. Also, if it's not fun, if it's not enjoyable, right? If it's not enjoyable, if it's not fun, it may be something that you want to divest yourself of at this time. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to get rid of it permanently. It just means that right now it doesn't need to be a priority. Right now you can kind of put this on the back burner and use that energy, right? To focus on something that you are passionate about, that is fun, that is in alignment with who you are, that really allows you to express yourself. Whenever we divest ourselves of things we don't need, it leaves space for the things that we not only need, but that we want, that we desire, that are in alignment with who we are. So it's not fun. If your inner child wouldn't like it, if your inner child would think it's boring, if it doesn't allow you to express yourself, you can definitely and gently put it to the side for right now. All right. So that is Thursday. Now let's move into Saturday. All right. So on Saturday, we've got the sun opposite the north node. All right. And so you will see the sun is on the right hand side of the chart at, I believe that says 6 degrees of Libra. And directly across, you will see the north node at 6 degrees of Aries. All right. So again, we've got this energy of opposition, right? We already had it with Mercury opposite Neptune, and now on Saturday, we're having it with the Sun and the North Node. Now, North Node is in Aries right now. And with the North Node in Aries, it's really having you being one track minded about what it is that you desire. Aries is like, I want this. I'm going to go after it. I want it in the fastest way possible. And that's literally all I can think about. Like, you have tunnel vision when it comes to this one thing, right? And you're amped about it, right? And it's very much in alignment with who you are, how you think, right? How you express yourself, even. It's very much in alignment with that, this desire, right? Then on the other end, you've got the sun in Libra. And the sun in Libra is like, but, I want to do this thing, but what is my husband going to say? Or I want to do this thing, but what are my friends going to say? Like, it's taking into account other people, right? And perhaps you don't want to rock the boat. Perhaps you kind of just want to keep the peace, or you don't want to go after this thing, or you don't want to be aggressively going after this thing. So this could sort of slow down your momentum when it comes to where you are headed, right? I said before, there's going to be this definiteness of purpose, right? This is not something that's just, happening this week. This is something that we have been molded, that's been molded within us over the last couple of years, if I'm being honest. And with the North Node in Aries, like, you're hot. You know exactly what this thing is. You know exactly what you want. But it's like, but damn, what are other people going to say? My husband's not going to like this. My boyfriend's going to think this. My friends are going to say this. My family's going to say that. Like, it slows you down because now you can't just focus on the thing. You got to focus on the people around you, or maybe the people that you are responsible to or responsible for, right? Again, Libra represents the other. The dichotomy of Aries and Libra. Aries is me. Libra is we. So the me part of this equation wants to go full steam ahead like a freight train when it comes to our purpose, right? Perfect example, right? Like, maybe your life purpose or your soul's mission that you've been awakened to at this time is like, all right, entrepreneurship. However, if you've got a family, if you've got kids, maybe you cannot sacrifice a paycheck to be an entrepreneur right now. Or maybe it's not even a money thing. Maybe it's a time thing, right? Here's the thing I'll say about being an entrepreneur and living in your purpose, because that's exactly what I'm doing right now, if you couldn't tell. It doesn't feel like work. There are days where I will literally be sitting here for 16 hours doing things, right? Building my business, learning things. It's always an endless rabbit hole of things to learn and do, right? But when you have familial obligations, when you have people that rely on you, kind of hard to dedicate all of that time to just this one goal, right? You have to be with them. Maybe you have to cook dinner. Maybe you have to do homework with kids. Maybe you need to spend quality time with your partner. Those things are important too. And it's like all of these things are sort of vying for your time and your attention right now. And it's really kind of up to you to find a balance between the two. That is the essence of oppositions in astrology. It's finding the balance. It's finding a happy medium. It's all right, I'm not going to work 16 hours on my passion project. I'll work 8, and then I'll spend time with the family, or we'll go out, or I'll be social. And that's another thing. Um, I know, I network with a lot of entrepreneurs, and a lot of times, many of us tend to be in like hermit mode where you're really just in the business, like really doing the things in isolation, which, obviously there's times for that, right? There's times where you really have to go hard. But you also need to have a social life. You need to, socialize with other people. You need to see the light of day. You need to go outside, right? So it's a balance, and striking a balance, a healthy balance between the two is ultimately going to be the best for everyone. Because remember what I said, we're in Libra season, Sun is in Libra. It's all about balance. It's all about fairness. It's all about keeping the peace, right? So even though it may not feel the best, right? Even though you may, you know, you want to spend those 16 hours at work, and when you're with your family you're kind of like, damn, I kind of wish I was doing my own thing, right? And we're just being honest about that. But everybody wins. Everybody wins, and that is part of the energy signature of Libra. All right, so that's Saturday. Now let's move into Sunday and see what we've got to close out the week. All right, so on Sunday, we've got Mercury opposite the North Node, very much in the same flavor as Sun opposite the North Node that we just had on Saturday, the day before. And then we have the waning crescent moon in Virgo. All right, so let's see what this looks like on the chart. So, same thing as the day before. If you look on the right-hand portion of the chart, you'll see the sun at 7 degrees of Libra. Directly opposite, you will see the North Node at about, oh, I'm sorry, no, we're looking at Mercury. So you'll see Mercury at 6 degrees of Libra on the right-hand side. And then directly opposite, you will see the North Node at 6 degrees of Aries. And then on the lower right-hand portion of the chart, you will see the moon is at, I believe that's 6 degrees of Virgo. All right. So same thing. Mercury in Libra. It's like, what is everyone else going to think? What are they going to say about this thing that I'm trying to do, this goal that I'm trying to achieve, this work that I'm trying to do, right? It's basically the same exact flavor as the sun opposite the North Node. Now, interestingly enough, this could also be your perception of what people will think or say. And I say that because, Mercury is all about our ideas. It may be the case that these other relationships, these people around you, they may not even have anything to say at all. But in your mind, you think or you anticipate or you assume that they're not going to like this. They're going to give me a hard time about this. They're going to complain about this. Meanwhile, they're not. So it may be your own mindset and your own perception of the situation that sort of stands in the way and slows you down from moving forward. So be very mindful of that. Because again, it could be a situation where the people around you understand. They understand what you're doing. They understand the goal. They understand the assignment, right? And they're cool with it for the most part. But you're just like, well, I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know what they're going to, if they're going to challenge me, if they're going to complain. Check your mindset and see where it's at and see if you're kind of standing in your own way when it comes to that forward trajectory, right? Because again, North Node in Aries, it's like a freight train going full steam ahead. However, if you've got a mindset of, I'm concerned about what everyone else is thinking, that slows the train down. It's not to say that you'll never get to the destination. It's just going to take longer, right? So definitely check your mindset. And then finally, we close out the week with waning crescent moon in Virgo. Now, Virgo loves to make order out of chaos. Virgo loves to compartmentalize things. It's cleanup time. Okay. Virgo is also of service, right? And so anything that no longer serves you, you'll want to divest yourself of it during this waning crescent moon in Virgo. Also, anything that's just Virgo has a lot to do with our daily routine. It also has to do with our health. And so anything that sort of stands in the way of those things, you're going to want to divest yourself of it at this time, all right? Anything that doesn't make your life easier, anything that isn't necessarily efficient or organized, you're either going to want to clean it up or you're going to want to get rid of it at this time, all right? And that is how we close out the week, all right? Nothing too crazy. However, like I said, we're still smack dab in the middle of that eclipse corridor. So things are about to get really interesting as we enter next week. All right. And so that is the forecast for this week. All right. So just in terms of announcements, tomorrow I will be going live, same time, same place, 9:30 p.m. here on YouTube to discuss the October monthly astro forecast. So definitely tune in for that. Also, if you're interested in learning your natal chart, I give a free live workshop every 2 weeks on the interesting parts and an overview of reading your natal chart. It's absolutely free. If you are interested, the link will be in the description box below and will also be tagged to this video. All right, my love. So that concludes this live on the weekly astro forecast. I sincerely hope that you were able to get at least one important piece of information that you can use going into the week. Thank you so much for tuning in. I wish you nothing but the best for this week and beyond. And I will see you in my next broadcast. All right, my loves, take care.